What was the one caption you had said? In this last whatever I did, dun dun dun, and then I put and grew a beard. You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy, but you're just letting your shit just go.
Yeah, dude, it's been I need a haircut.
That you
I've
need
been
a haircut.
I've been putting that off, but like I really need one. But like I've been so focused on like music, school. I have siblings, so I always have to watch them and all that, and just trying to or I'll just get stuff done. So I never really have free time for myself, you know what I mean?
No, I feel like I'm in the same boat a lot of times, but it's been a long time in the making. We've been working for like damn near like 2 full years now. Since we started working, everything's gotten bigger. The placements, the quality of everything, the hair is all getting bigger. But no, we appreciate it big time. Again, definitely a super highly requested interview. My man Jay Beats, the producer room powered by producer culture. Everyone make sure they like, comment, subscribe, comment who you want to see next. But we got the GOAT in the building, Jay Beats. We appreciate it big time, man.
Jay Beats on the track, boy.
Appreciate you, bro.
What do you got going on? Everything smooth?
Yeah, everything's pretty much smooth. Just getting some beats in, some loops in, and now I'm doing this interview with you.
Yeah, it's been crazy. But so when did kind of like everything besides like the industry placement wise picking up, etc., like before even any of that, like when did like have you always been like a musical kid? Like have you always been like involved with music, and when did it like really first start for you?
Yeah, I've always really been a musical kid. My dad's a producer as well, so I kind of picked up on a lot of his stuff. Like he would always make beats, and I would always watch him as a baby, and I would always try to use the drum pads and keyboards and all that, which eventually led me to when I was 9 or 10, starting to like actually make music. So it was just overall fun to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Salute to Pops, man. I forgot we had talked that one day way back. But do you think it's interesting because a lot of it's like a 50-50 split, and I keep bringing up this point, but a lot of people are like just coasting and continue to rise, and they had no actual type music background besides just their laptop and FL. And then other people have these crazy musical backgrounds, whether it be like uh, like a Forever Rolling or Flex or whoever, some of the other guys that we spoke to. Do you think that that kind of like gives you an advantage when it comes to making these beats, making these loops, sending everything out?
I would say so because you just have more education on how to play the instruments, your skills and all of that. Those are very, very important. Um, if you know how to play guitar, piano, especially piano, then you already had advantage, I'd say. Yeah.
When for you, I think I know myself personally, and I think I speak for a lot of other people. When you kind of first started getting on everyone's radar, unless they were late, was when you were making the like how to make so and so type whatever. Uh, at what point did you kind of like decide go that route where you're gonna start like actually like showcasing the stuff that you were making? Because I'm sure you were making stuff quietly to yourself, whatever, in the beginning, whether it just be for fun or just from watching your pops or whatever. But when did you start like actually posting like your music online?
I'd say I started posting my music online when um like placements started to come through, like small little placements. And I always thought like, okay, well, even if it's a small placement or a big placement, I gotta find a way how to write it, you know what I mean? To like capitalize off of it and be like, okay, so this is how I do this for these artists, or this is how you make these type beats and people will watch them. And I was able to like get my loops to people, sell my loop kits and all of that. So that was very, very strong in the beginning for me, I'd say.
Definitely. What what point do you actually decide to go the loop route? Because I feel like some people could look at it as like a saturated market at this point where there's so many people trying to do loops, so many people sending out loops, so many, but at what point do you decide like that's the path you're gonna start to go down?
Honestly, that came from like I was back in 2019, I believe. The producer who did Hard on Ice, like me and him had like countless DMs, and we were talking about making loops and all that. I was like very, very inspired by that song to like make those kind of loops and all that. And I always like thought that my loop game was very, very weak and my drum game was good, but like overall my loop game was weak. So like what I would do is I would try to make a bunch of melodies and try to get them to rod wave. Because that was like my main goal, just to get one with rod wave. So I would make loops every single day. And eventually I just liked it. I just wanted to be able to get my loops like perfect, you know what I mean? Like make them really sound really, really good, opposed to having that as my weak side, you know what I mean?
Bro, it's too crazy because that Hard on Ice record was so crazy. Salute to Speaker Bangers, DiCaprio, Malik. It's just insane how like inspiring like Rod's music and his whole sound has been to like especially this up and coming like musical world. Uh Speaker Bangers and I started working way, way back in the day. And I actually remember when it was just a tight beat on his channel. And I remember Hunger Games 1 and 2 when it was on there. And then Hard on Ice is actually on PTSD, but the remix was on the Ghetto Gospel Project. And then it just starts going super crazy from there. As far as you spoke to Loopkits, selling Loopkits, making loops, sending loop packs out, etc. What are kind of like some do's and don'ts when it comes to that? Because I'm sure in the beginning, your process to sending stuff out to try to land, you know, collabs or whatever has changed from then to now. But like, what are kind of some of the like things where you think a lot of loop makers are cooking up all this stuff and sending it out, but it's like they're kind of going about it the wrong way?
I would say if you truly wants to work with somebody, you should try to get contact with them the legit way and not just trying to get a big email form and just like mass send, you know what I mean? Like that's not going to land anywhere because no one's really going to use your loops. What I would say that put me on to people using my loops was I was actually connecting with them and just overall just locking in with the people around them. And that's eventually how I was able to get my loops to them and they were using it. And that's how I connected. And that's how I started landing placements, is because I was actually sending loops to them directly. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, here's the email, send it. You know what I mean? They don't know me.
It's crazy. As far as the loop kit game goes, when you're packaging stuff up and actually selling it as a product, what are some of the ways to like really win in that game? Because I definitely see a lot of people doing it, and I see some people who it's not really working for, and I see some people who are like making a crazy amount of money off of it. If I had to guess, I'm not in your pockets or anything, but I'm sure you're on one side more than the other. Like, how do you kind of win in that game?
It is a battle. This is a lot of competition with loops, I'd say. You really, with that, like what I'd say, I promote my kits a lot when it comes to like, I'll send my loop stuff. So whatever I make for my kit, I kind of put back into promotions as well. So I run a lot of ads with my kits and all that. So I'm still trying to like, I'd say like try to make it better and try to get more sales off my kits, but that's really what I do right now. But I'd say best way is to send your loops out to people. Run ads if you can, and then making content with that thing. So such as like YouTube videos, TikToks that I used to do, or just overall content for your kit. That's how you're going to be able to get it out.
Yeah, content is the key right now. That's even what kind of like inspired me to start doing some of these interviews and stuff. Cause I'll be sitting back like, man, so and so's interviewing this, that. I feel like I could do it, but then at some point it's like, all right, you got to actually like try to do it if you're gonna do it or not. Um, as far as kind of like running the ads goes, I know that that's something that's been really, really helpful for a lot of different type beat producers, loop makers, people promoting drum kits, whatever. What are some of the kind of like the strategies you use when it comes to running ads? Like what platforms are you running them on? How are you kind of doing it? Like speak to that a little bit.
All of my ads I've ran on Instagram.
Mhm.
So I'll put money for I'll put money on the Instagram posts and promotional content just for the kits, and try to get people to come to my page or click the link to the kit and all that, and try to convert them to get sales and all that. Is really all it is for the ads, something really crazy. I've been looking to a lot of things with ads though, like how to actually target an audience and actually how to get them to that audience that you want. So that is also very, very crucial. That's what I'm still learning on though.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to kill on those ads is one of the biggest like cheat codes to exposing whatever you're trying to do or just move a product or just get a lot more, like I said, exposure to it. I think some people think it's like, oh, you're running ads, that's why da 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 da. But that's such a stupid way of thinking. Like,
It is a stupid way of thinking. I 100% believe that, but that's at the end of the day. If my kits are making money, that means I'm making money. It doesn't matter how I made it. I still made money.
Yeah, marketing the product is more important than the product itself in some levels. Obviously, if what you're selling sucks, it's not going to work at all. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's like, okay, I could do it without it and make $800 a month, or I could do it with it where I make $3,000 a month, even though I spend one. You still make way more than you would have on the flip side. But it's something interesting that I've noticed about the producer community and kind of the way some people think about things. But I definitely think the ones that are winning know what's really going on. But no, that's awesome. A lot of really good information there as far as pushing loops, pushing the kits, etc. At what point for you, and I know you said you started posting stuff when it started getting a little bigger, but at what point for you did like it actually start to translate into like real placements where you had actual artists, you know, rapping on a collab from a loop that you managed to land?
I'd say it started last year, 2020, like during the pandemic, is when I started getting people on my beats and all of that. And I still remember the one song that kind of put me on the map, I'd say. It was a Rilo song. It was a leak. It was like AKs and drums. That's what it's called. That song went crazy as a leak. I kind of capitalized off of that and like showed that I produced it and all of that, and try to get my loops to other people. And at the time I had a loop kit out, which that helped a lot. This was a free loop kit. So people were already using my loops and I was getting tons of placements back to back. Like I remember that day, I remember that month in March or something around there. Like I was on a 30-day streak of getting a placement every single day. That's how crazy it was. And yeah, that's the first song that I'd say kind of put me on the map.
That's crazy. A 30-day streak. What
Yeah.
who are some of the artists that contributed to that 30-day period? So you had Rilo with the big AKs and drums unreleased song that managed to find its way on the internet. Who are some of the other artists that were a part of that streak?
I had a Tusi song during that time. So they're not like crazy big artists, but like they're upcoming. They're getting attention, you know what I mean? So yeah, like Rilo, Tusi, I'm 99% sure I got Kevin Gates song that month. Yeah, so like those artists are like that kind of those artists were the ones that contributed to all of that.
Yeah, those are three definitely super, super huge artists. Isn't it crazy too that you were probably just going and working for such a long time without having anything drop, but you just saw the bigger picture to a point where finally everything drops at once. Like it really just speaks to how you just got to kind of stay down and keep working.
Yeah, it was 2020. Um, I didn't have I barely had any drops, like nothing really crazy. Like I'd say 2020 is when I got this plaque right here, right? It's like hit number 15 on Billboard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people clown me because I got a 15, number 15 Billboard. But the reason why I got it is because that was like the first time I ever hit Billboard. So I wanted to keep it as a memory for all the times that like I'll get a number one. So that was my main goal, to try to get a number one. And now this year I was able to rack in three.
Yeah, three back to back to back too. So all right, let's skip to the good stuff then. The first drop that goes absolutely crazy, single music video, everything. Tombstone, Rod Wave, huge record. Just like I remember sitting there watching the premiere countdown on YouTube and just being like, all right, this is gonna be nuts gets when it hits zero. And I don't remember how many million views it did in the first day, and I don't know what it's at now, but it's got millions and millions and millions of views. What was the backstory to that? Like, how did that placement and song overall end up coming together?
So this kind of dials back to when like the pandemic and all that. So during the pandemic, I wanted to pick up guitar because I was like, I want to learn guitar very, very badly because that was like one of my goals since I was like a little kid, was to learn how to play guitar. So I ended up buying a guitar, like a $180 Fender guitar, learned how to play it somewhat. And then eventually in July of that year, I made a loop that was Tombstone, sent it out to 88, my boy 88. I'm pretty sure he posted it on YouTube. And Rodwave actually found the beat on YouTube, I'm 99% sure.
Mhm.
And that's how Tombstone ended up coming out. Song didn't come out till like 6-7 months after I got the snippet, I'd say. So I was just sitting there, I was like, dang, is this ever really gonna drop? And then eventually it dropped.
How song is crazy, first of all. How long was it? Because you said you were waiting for forever for the song to drop. And I feel confident saying he got the beat off YouTube too, because he ends up getting so many beats off of YouTube. That's the other thing too. People try to downplay producers posting stuff to YouTube sometimes, but it's like, look how big some of these songs are. But you said how you felt like you were waiting for forever for the song to finally drop. How long was it in between you doing the paperwork to the song dropping?
I got paperwork in August of last year, and the song came out in March, almost April.
That's crazy. So that's the other thing too. It's really never out until it's out. And I'm sure you've experienced that firsthand. Like having the snippet is cool, or hearing the artist freestyle to it on Instagram Live or whatever, even doing paperwork, but it's really never out until it's out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely there's no yeah. But honestly, I was just because that was like my first Robin song, and that was like very sentimental to me because I wanted a Robin song so badly. I just worked for it, so like it felt good knowing that I was able to get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. That's you even kind of, it's kind of circling back to earlier. It's kind of like the reason you started, or the reason you started making that specific sound. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, it finally happened. I'm sure you'll have your plaque for that one very, very soon.
Yeah, that's I'm about to. I'm trying to order my plaques, so it's kind of a hassle trying to.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a process to get them, but you'll definitely get them. So Rod comes out, it goes crazy. You come right back with another number one project when you end up on the YSL project. How did that all end up coming together with that song? And it wasn't just another song on there. That was one of the main songs they put a lot of firepower into. how did you end up with that big record on there?
So my boy YPM Richie, producer, he's from Ukraine, I'm pretty sure. So he's an overseas producer. I would send him loops and we would just work on a bunch of stuff back to back to back. One of the loops I sent was, I made it back in like November of last year, right? Sent it to him. He did a beat on it. And then he sent it to Unfug actually. So when he sent it to him, they ended up using the beat. Once he used the beat, Young Thug went on it. He also said this in the interview. I remember I was watching the interview with Young Thug. Unfug Unfug was in the studio with Thug. Thug wanted to hop on it and use it for his project, and that's how it actually landed, which is kind of crazy to me. That was kind of lucky, in my opinion, for it to even like land on there.
Yeah, no, that's nuts. And that was a project that was huge. It had everybody on there from Future to Baby to Drake to the first Rowdy Rebel single since he had been back home, the first Rowdy Rebel feature rather. But no, that was just incredible. You also pretty quickly after you end up on the NBA project as well. And I know there's a little bit of a crazy background story to how all that came together. Like, what was the process behind that?
Dude, that day was so crazy. This is where it's like crazy to me, because I remember me and TNT were in a group chat, right? That's how I connected with him. Okay. Me and him, we worked on a lot of stuff, right? And he told me to sample some songs for Shock the World on the Broadway project, right? So we started working on that. And like I was like really determined to get one on that Broadway project, right? And what's so crazy about that loop got placed, ended up being Shock the World. Then literally an hour after I made that loop, I made the YoungBoy loop. So those loops were back to back and they both got placed, which is so crazy to me. So I made 2 hit songs in a day, you know what I mean?
One day.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's always crazy how it could come together. You really never know. But yeah, so you built it up to the point where you could be sending, a hit maker like TNT, all this stuff. You've been connected with whoever, and that's how a lot of placements ended up coming together. Obviously now there's a ton of loop makers who are sending out huge BCC emails, or they're using other strategies, whether they're sending Dropbox links to people on Instagram DMs or whatever they're doing. What did you kind of do to even be able to build it up to that point, like networking wise, and just speak to kind of like the networking side of everything?
Dang. I don't know if I should really even say this, but I had a song, right? The song was with some smaller artists and PNB Rock as a feature, right? Some guy stole my loop and I kind of made a video on it like, hey, this guy stole my loop, blah, 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 right? Brought traction to me. And I kid you not, I got a bunch of new connections that day. Like everyone wanted to work with me just as that situation. I was able to send my loops and get placements over and over. And once I started like actually getting placements down is when I had more networking power. So I was able to go and hit up more people and be like, hey, can I send you loops? They'd use my loops. And I was doing that multiple times. Everyone I've networked with has been strictly on Instagram.
Yep.
So Instagram is such a powerful tool. Like your phone has so much power to get you placements. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. Like the stuff that I started the TNT interview, him and I were speaking on that, like the stuff that I've been able to accomplish just off my phone, you've been able to, it's pretty like amazing. Like you really can't ever say like, oh, but I'm not connected to so-and-so or so-and-so, but you can literally figure out a way to like get to anything.
I do agree that it is hard to get connections and network. It takes a lot of time and energy to try to contact the people that you want to work with. But if you like keep on being consistent, keep finding the right connections and doing A, B, and C, then you'll be able to connect with anybody really.
Yeah, that's definitely a fact. So your loop ends up getting stolen, and then you have a moment with like everyone's kind of looking at you, and you turn that negative into a crazy positive where that just networking and connecting with different people. How like why are all these loops getting stolen all the time? Like what's actually happening? Like someone sends something to someone else and they're just changing the names of the files and then sending them out as if they're theirs.
Well, that's one thing, but another thing is like when you send loops to people, people end up being greedy and then just wanting to steal just all the pub, and all that stuff. It's not giving fair splits. And that's how I genuinely don't understand how people even do that. Like, is even I've played stuff with my drums, I've used other people's loops, and I'm not greedy with my publishing. Like, if you did something on the beat, then you're gonna get split.
Yeah. You always split it evenly every time.
I'll always be split it evenly. Like I had 4 on the Jackboy projects, for instance. Those were I used other people's loops. Every single one of those songs, everyone got a fair split.
Yeah. Do you think you could ask for more if you're the one actually placing it?
Um, Honestly, like what do you mean by that? Like would you say like um if you place it, you should get more, you're saying?
Yeah, like let's say I send you the loop, you place it with so and so. Do you think you could say like, hey, I want the split to be 30-20 or 35-15 because I ended up placing it?
Honestly, like I think everything should be 50-50, but that's up to however you people want to negotiate with their contracts.
Yeah.
Everything I do, I try to make it 50-50, you know what I mean? Just have everything equal. So like if there's, for example, if there's 2 people on a beat, it's 25-25. If there's 3 people on a beat, 16.6, you know what I mean? So it's easier that way.
No, I'm definitely in the same boat with you on that. And I see some people do it the other way, but I see a lot of people do it the way that you do. And I feel like it just kind of keeps coming back around because it's just taking care of your collaborators and just everybody you're working with. Even, you might end up being stingy on that one and getting X% more, but that person might not ever end up working with you again. And that could definitely be a bigger closed door than that extra 5 or 10% or whatever it might end up being.
Yeah. But what I would say is that publishing is like, that's why I say everything, it should be equal, because publishing is like such a huge thing. Like my BMI checks are like huge. And I would see that now. Like I didn't really think about it like way before, but now that I see the money come in, like my BMI checks are fucking like I'm making thousands, right? So like now it's now I see where publishing is like very, very important.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think everyone should get equal, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure those checks are coming in and they're coming in nice and looking nice for sure. Speak to like some of that though. Isn't it kind of annoying as far as BMI goes and how long you have to wait for everything? Like, was that kind of a little bit of a learning curve for you in the beginning?
Kind of. To be honest, I don't really find it annoying. I actually like how they pay out, surprisingly. But I actually like how they pay out every 3 months. It's just easy, one transfer, call it a day, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The stuff from Tombstone's gotta be crazy because especially with the artist like Rod that's just streaming like there's no tomorrow. It's definitely insane. Uh you spoke to something else too, which I think is a little bit of an important point to hit. Cause I always am hearing people say like, this is the way it is, or because of this, because of that. But you spoke to how it gets negotiated when the paperwork comes down. Like when it comes down to it, whatever ends up on that paperwork is really what ends up being what it is. So people can talk about how like technically it's this and that and it's split this way, but you definitely got to make sure your paperwork is right. When did it kind of click to you that, you know, it was your job to really make sure you understood the business behind everything?
Um, when I started getting placements, that's really when it was like clicked. But it was like I saw the paperwork and I was like, I don't understand half of this. So like I just had my lawyer explain it all to me. My lawyer kind of explained everything to me. And that's how I really learned all the business side, really, like the basic stuff like publishing, advances, royalties, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Super, super important. Can't stress it enough. Um, what do you got working on now? What are you working on? What's a day in the life of J Beats looking like?
I'm working on a lot of stuff. Obviously I'm always working on loops, always working on beats. I try to make like at least 2 or 3 loops a day, if not two, at least one, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I try to make at least 2 beats a day. So that's what I do. And in terms of placements, I have some crazy unreleased coming out, but I can't talk about it. I have
Yeah,
some crazy unreleased.
can't speak on it. Is there anything, I'm sure these unreleased placements that are on the way that you can't speak of are one thing, but other than that, is there anything that you're looking forward to that you got on the way? Whether it be, you know, locking them with so and so or this or that. Is there anything on the way that you're excited for?
I'm just honestly excited for the projects that are going to come out. That's all it is for me.
I can't wait to see. I'm sure you got some crazy stuff. Well,
Mhm.
we appreciate it big time. I think I definitely want to end on this, right? You in the beginning, here at Hard on Ice, being inspired to make stuff like that, you ended up doing it. You made it happen. You got to this point. There's a lot of people who are in that boat now of what you were back then. Like, what's kind of like some of the advice you would give, the loop maker who's trying to make 2, 3 beats per day, 2, 3 loops, beats per day, whatever, trying to make sure they send it out. They just feel like they're getting nowhere. Like, what's some of the advice that you would have for some of those guys?
I know it's generic, but honestly, just be consistent. That's all it was for me. Is the more consistent you are, the more you're putting yourself out there, the more you're sending out loops, eventually one of those loops or beats will get placed. Consistency and networking are so huge in this industry.
Yeah, consistency is definitely so huge. We opened up the conversation talking about how it's a little bit of a saturated market, meaning there's so many people trying to succeed in this space. With that being said, if you're someone's go-to guy and you're sending stuff and then at some point you just stop or you know you're frustrated so you give up for this week or that week, whatever, because there's so much competition in the space, it's easy for someone else to kind of like fill that void and take over. So it's definitely super, super important. It's just
Yeah, 100%. I if it even motivates people, I spent 4 years making beats and loops, and I didn't get a single placement till this year or till last year and this year.
yeah,
Think about that. I spent 4 years not getting any placements. All it is just consistency. That's all it is, consistency and networking. Eventually your stuff will get placed.
make sure everyone hears that. 4 full years. There's a lot of people who have been at it for 4 months, for 8 months, for a year and a half, who feel like it's just not working. 4 full years, but we appreciate it big time. One of the craziest stories I remember watching back when it was the how to so and so everything. So it's been really, really fun to watch your rise, and we appreciate it big time. Who do you think? Who do you think we got to get on here? Who should be the next one?
Trying to think.
We got
We need,
good ones
we
on the
need, we need to
way.
get Cameron on here. We need to get Cameron on here.
Cameron. We need to get Cameron on here. Shout out my man Cameron.
Uncle Cameron is crazy.
So, well, everybody, make sure they spam Uncle Cameron. Make sure they're hitting them in the Instagram comments. Make sure you request them in the YouTube comments. But like I said, we appreciate it again. Congrats on everything.
Thank
Uh,
you.
the producer room, powered by producer culture. Everyone, make sure they like, comment, subscribe, comment who you want to see next, and shit like bro, right here, it just might happen.
All right. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Okay, appreciate it again.